Are you wondering how you find a supplier to manufacture your product? In this video, I'll share with you different options on finding suppliers and the exact process of how to make the initial contact. Stick around. What's up guys? Crescent here. On this channel, I share tips and strategy videos, just like this one, on how to succeed on Amazon private labeling. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. Let's get started. Okay, so you found a product. Now you need to source a supplier to get the unit pricing, shipping costs, and delivery time so you can factor them in to your costs. Ideally, everyone would prefer to source locally. However, as most of you, my viewers, are in the US, manufacturing costs are simply too high to source stateside. It's far cheaper to find suppliers overseas in China and have your product shipped to the US. So, where do you start and how do you ensure that the supplier is trustworthy and reliable and that you're getting the best price? Well, you have several options, but make sure you stick around to the end. I'll show you some pro tips on how you can cut costs and save a lot of money. The most common options for sourcing products from China are from Alibaba, AliExpress, and DHgate, with Alibaba being the most popular for private label. AliExpress, for the most part, offers the same products as you'll find on Alibaba. However, they're structured towards selling smaller quantities per order, such as single units rather than large quantities like on Alibaba. This may be good if you want to order a really small test sample or if you're doing drop shipping on Shopify, for example. But be aware though that shipping from AliExpress is typically 4 to 6 weeks. DHgate, on the other hand, is a cross between Alibaba and AliExpress. You can purchase single units or in quantity, and you can see a breakdown of the pricing structure by the order size. You can also contact the seller if you want to order large quantities or inquire about private labeling. What's different about DHgate is that customers can leave reviews. The advantage here is that you may avoid having to get samples of the product you're interested in simply based on the reviews. Shipping is generally free on DHgate and take about a week to deliver, but they also have a section of products that offer 2 to 5 day shipping. This is great if you need products in a hurry, but then again, this wouldn't work for private label since these products won't have your brand or logo on them. Like AliExpress, you'd have to contact the supplier to inquire about private labeling and pricing options. Through my experience, however, I've found that prices on DHgate and AliExpress are still higher than on Alibaba for private labeling, especially after negotiation. Now, before moving forward, there's one point that I want to make clear. If you want to have a successful private label product, there are 3 key factors that you need to prioritize when sourcing a supplier. These are quality, cost, and lead time. I'll explain why. First, like I've explained in my product research videos, always go premium. Find ways to add value to improve the product. Never go cheap, especially by competing on price. It will always end up being a race to the bottom and the entire niche ends up making little to no profit. Aiming for high quality products has a snowball effect. First, you can charge more because of the better quality over your competitors. And because the quality is better, your customers will be happy with the product. And contrary to what some of you may think, although people are always looking for deals, they're also willing to pay more for quality. No one wants to buy something only to have it fall apart. And lastly, and most importantly, your listing will get glowing reviews. Second, cost. When looking for a supplier, it should go without saying that you want to negotiate for the best price per unit. This of course will affect your bottom line or profit margin. But this also ties in directly with quality. Don't go for the best price at the expense of quality. If you have to pay a little more for better quality, you should always choose quality. This is where you'll have to use your discretion of quality versus cost, and where having your suppliers provide you with samples may help with your decision. Lastly, lead time. Lead time is the production time or manufacturing time. How long will it take your supplier to manufacture the quantity that you want to order? Why this is important is because you don't want to have to wait any longer than necessary whenever you need to place an order, especially if it's an emergency. Some suppliers have the resources to turn around production quicker than others, so always find out what the lead time is so you can factor that into your decision-making process. Also be aware that sometimes larger orders can take longer than smaller ones, so make sure you account for this and don't assume that your future order of say 2,000 units will take the same amount of time as your initial order of 500. Let me know in the comments if that makes sense and what other points that you look out for. Alright, now that we've got that covered, let's dive right in. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is go on to Alibaba.com, and if you haven't already, create an account. Alright, and let's use a garlic press for an example. And the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you come over here and choose Trade Assurance and Gold Supplier. Now, the reason why you want to make sure they're a gold supplier is so that they've established enough credibility and length of time on Alibaba that they've gotten this gold supplier status, okay? And then you want to make sure that they also offer trade assurance, which is Alibaba's secured payment method, and they're willing to use that to secure your payment with them in case something goes wrong. Both parties are protected, okay? One thing I want to point out here is that you should be aware of the type of supplier you'll most likely end up dealing with on Alibaba. Now, it ultimately doesn't really matter which one you deal with, but you should know what their involvement is. First, there's the trading company. They act as the middleman between you and the manufacturer. So be aware that you're not working directly with the factory, and they generally work on commission. Second, there's the wholesaler and distributors. They buy mass quantity of the products from manufacturers and resell them. Here's where you can usually find really good deals on products and buy in smaller quantities. You'll find most of these suppliers on AliExpress. And last is the factory themselves. Dealing directly with the factory is the best case, as you can get the best prices since you won't be paying any commissions, and you can build a working relationship directly with them. Plus, if you need to make any modifications to the product, you'll be working directly with them instead of the middleman, with the risk of miscommunication. You can generally see what type of supplier you're dealing with when you click on the listing and look under their business name here. Now, let's just say through your product research, you've determined that one of these garlic presses, one of these designs is what you're looking for. You're going to want to find the garlic press that looks similar or is exactly the same as the one you're trying to manufacture, okay? So what you're going to do is go down here, and if you don't really know, it's okay. Just go through and find ones that match. So if you're not doing these food grade silicone garlic strippers, ignore it, right? Unless you're bundling, then you might want to keep note of it. But you can see here, these are all garlic presses, all right? And what you can do is you can kind of see what their range is for the pricing and what the minimum order quantity is, right? That's the MOQ, minimum order quantity. Now, keep in mind, when you see these prices, this is the range. For example, this one's $3 to $5. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get $3 to $5. This is just an example for them to show you. What you're going to pay is solely dependent on how many units you decide to order, okay? And typically the lowest price here is for high or huge order quantities, right? 5,000 units, 10,000 units or more. Don't expect to pay this $3 if you only order 500 units or 100 units for your first sample order, okay? You're probably gonna end up paying closer to the $5 range, all right? So what I would do is when I go through here, I'm gonna take note of all the garlic presses that match what I'm trying to do. And there's no shame here, there's no reason to be embarrassed or whatever. Contact every single supplier that's on here, okay? And one thing to note also is if they show that their minimum order quantity is like 500 or 1,000, it doesn't matter. Fire off an email to them still and see if they're willing to negotiate with you and lower that MOQ for you, okay? So don't just throw away or ignore the ones that have listed high order quantities here. Like this one's 1,000 pieces. If you don't want to order 1,000, that's okay. If you only want to order 300 or 500, still send them an email. Maybe they're willing to work with you. Now I have a contact template that's totally free that I'm offering you guys. There's a link in the description. Download it for free. Use it. The key here is you want to sound professional and not an amateur. These suppliers get contacted every day by hundreds of people, and they're going to weed out all the people that they don't believe are serious. Okay, so you want to make sure you use this template that I'm providing for you and stick to it. All right, so let me pull it up for you. Okay, so here's a supplier contact email template. All right, now what you're going to do is I've already labeled the sections that you're going to replace with the supplier's name and the order quantity and the details of what you want to do. All right, so let's just go through this. So for example, right here, what you're gonna do is you're gonna copy and paste this whole thing, okay? And start out by customizing it to each supplier that you're contacting, okay? So hello, put the business name or the contact name here. So if we go back over here, if you want to do this garlic press, for example, okay, you can see this is the company. All right, Hizao Yongli. Okay, so if you look over here, there's a link here that says contact supplier. So if you click it, you can see here that there's a name. It's Eva X. So you can customize that there and go, hello, Eva. All right, make sure you sound professional. Go in here and replace all these with your own information. So your name, okay, I'm the lead purchasing agent for, and put your business name if you have one, if you establish an LLC already, or if you don't, that's okay. Use your private label name, okay? And fill this out. And then we're an international company based out of, and put your city, state, it really doesn't matter. And then we would like to add however many products that they have to your inventory. So if you're only interested in their garlic press, then put one here. Now, if you're bundling and this supplier happens to have both products that you're trying to bundle together, put 2. I'm trying to add 2 of your products to our store, okay? And so here, copy and paste the title of their product. And the key here is, because there might be a language barrier, since they're overseas, their English may not be that great. So what you want to do is make sure there's no means of miscommunication. So take their title right here, silicone tube roller, copy that and paste it here, okay? And again, to avoid any miscommunication, paste the URL of that listing, okay? So this listing is right here. Copy this URL and put it right here, okay? And then sometimes there's a model number, do that too. And you can probably see it here, model number right here, okay? Put that here. And then again, if it's something that has colors and sizes, put that in here. And then if you have any requests or modifications, make sure you're as detailed as possible and use plain, simple English in describing what you're trying to get. So if you're trying to change the material, change the functionality, improve the product somehow, or you want to do any customization for the packaging, or you want to describe how you want to bundle the products, for example, list it right here, okay, in this area. If you don't, then just ignore this, all right? Now here, you want to make sure, because the person you're talking to, they do things differently over there. So when you have a whole list of questions, they may not respond to every single one. They might glaze over it and only respond to the ones that stuck in their mind. So you want to itemize everything. That's why it's numbered here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And I've told them here to answer underneath each question, so they know under each one, reply specifically to the question that's immediately above it, okay? So that's kind of the different mentality that they do stuff over there. So for this one, number 1, if you're bundling, do this, okay? Describe what the product is, and I'm explaining to them that I want 1 unit being the entire bundle, and put it into one package. Are they able or capable of doing that, okay? And then 2, do you have the ability to print your business name and logo on the package? Because sometimes some suppliers can't. They just pump out this product, but they have no means of customizing stuff, okay? So you want to make sure and establish if they can or not, if you want to do any custom packaging. And of course, you want to put your private label on it, on your product all the time, okay? And then 3, you want to make sure that they're able to label your product with the Amazon FN SKU, okay? And again, not every supplier is aware or familiar with how Amazon works. So if you use the FN SKU terminology, they may not know what you're talking about. So that's why I use UPC code here, printed or stickered on the package, because worldwide, everybody knows what a UPC code, okay? But just so you know, you're not gonna give them the UPC code, you're gonna give them the Amazon FN SKU to put on your product. Now, here's the nitty gritty of it. You wanna find out what their pricing structure is, okay? So even though they have their range listed on Alibaba, you're gonna ask them how many units that I want, what it's gonna cost, okay? So let's just say you want 100 units, 300 units, 500, whatever, put it here, and you want to get a quote for 2 quantities, all right? The lower one is a test sample, and the higher one, so you can use that for negotiation and to show that you're serious on future orders, what the what the cost is for the higher quantity, okay? And then of course, this address here is Amazon's warehouse in Texas. So again, shipping from China, since it's overseas, the shipping costs really isn't going to vary that much regardless of where it's going in the United States. Okay, so you can give them your own address or any other random address in the US, the price is going to be the same, but you can just use this address here. Okay, it's Amazon's warehouse. And then you want to find out how long the lead time is. If I'm having you make this many units, how long is it going to take? All right, it's very important that you get that information. And then what is the cost of the shipping, and then how long is it going to take to ship it? Okay, and the thing is, you want to have them itemize that, so they're not giving you a unit price that includes shipping. You want to make sure you separate it so you can use that as a negotiation tactic as well, especially with other suppliers. So you know my unit cost is X and the shipping cost is X, and you can amortize the shipping cost across how many units you're ordering. Okay. Now, sometimes you might want to get a sample, so it's good to ask all these questions up front. Another thing I want to make clear too, because of the time zone difference, you want to get as much information from them per communication. So you don't want to go back and forth and wait 24 hours each time you want to ask them a subsequent question. So get all the questions out in one initial contact email. That's why you stick to this template. And so you get all that information back at once. So you're not going back and forth. Okay, time is money. Don't waste time. So here, even if you're not planning to get a sample, ask them, how much do you charge for a sample? And what is it going to cost to ship? Okay, and usually they're going to want you to pay for the fees or whatever. But the thing is, if you decide to go with that manufacturer, they usually reimburse you for that sample cost with your initial order. Okay, and you can always verify that with them and ask them. Okay, and again, be courteous and professional. So thank them, and you hope that you want to create a mutual beneficial relationship with them, so they know that you're serious, and if everything goes well, that you're going to stick with them. Okay? So put your name and your contact details here. Now, one thing to note too is sometimes these suppliers have stateside representatives that are answering these emails. They're on the North American time zone, which is convenient. So while we're awake, someone's answering right away, which is great. So what you want to do too is be aware that after your initial contact, the sales rep might actually prefer to contact you or reply to you outside of Alibaba's private message system, because the messaging system at Alibaba is terrible and it's very difficult to navigate and use. It's a pain in the butt. So they might prefer to talk to you on Skype or on WhatsApp, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, it's actually more convenient. So what you're going to do is they're going to add you or request you to add them, and then you can communicate with them through that system. But one thing you want to take note of too is that once you do commit to a supplier, whatever negotiation or terms and conditions that you've negotiated in that other chat system, you copy it and transcribe it into whatever payment method you have. So if you're using the Alibaba Trade Assurance platform, or if you're using PayPal or whatever, take all of that information, the terms and agreement that you guys have, and put that into that payment system so it's recorded and documented. Okay, and one other thing too, be aware that when you're contacting all the suppliers, and again, just fire off this template to all of them. It doesn't matter, because a lot of them aren't going to respond, or they're going to be super slow to respond. And those suppliers, just ignore them. Okay, you don't want to deal with suppliers that don't take you seriously or don't respond fast enough. There's also going to be suppliers that aren't very good at English, and you probably don't want to deal with them either, because there could be some miscommunications that can affect your order and cost you a lot of time and money going back and forth. So ones that are slow to respond, don't respond, or aren't very good at English, ignore them. So fire off as many templates as possible to all the suppliers that you see that match what you're trying to do, and wait for these to come back, and you can filter those out to the ones that have good English, that are fast with the communication, and then you build some rapport with them. Okay, but what I was going to bring up is make sure that you don't send duplicate emails to the same company. That's the first sign of being an amateur. Okay, so for example, right here it shows you that this is the company, Henzhou Yongli. If we go back to the search page here, make sure when you're looking through here that you don't send another email to the same person, right? So just take note that this is the company, right? Make a spreadsheet or something and document it so you don't send duplicates. Now, one tip I want to share with you is, as you start getting responses back from suppliers, keep careful track of all the quotes that they're giving you. Now, When I first started, I just kept it all in the messaging system and I would refer back to it, but you'll learn really quick that that's not very effective and you start getting confused and lost because it's hard to find all the information through messaging over the however many dozens of suppliers you're talking to. So create a spreadsheet, keep track of each manufacturer that has responded, and in each column itemize all the quotes that you're getting. So for 100 units, this company said this much. For 500 units, it was this much. Shipping was this much. So itemize it for each supplier that has responded to you and into a spreadsheet so that you can use that as a negotiation tactic between each supplier. So if, let's say, a dozen suppliers have responded, you have a dozen suppliers in your spreadsheet and a column for each item that you're trying to negotiate with, whether that's the quantity, the shipping, any customization, and more importantly, any freebies that they're willing to offer you. So sometimes one company will do free labeling for you, or they'll do a free insert card, or they'll do free custom packaging or whatever for you, right? So make another column for it and take note. If it's not free, write the price that they're charging you for it. And if it's free, put free. And then you can use those to negotiate with each other and go, if this company has what I want and have a better pricing for 100 units, but this other company is doing this for free, you can go, hey, this other guy's offering me this, can you match it? And you can go back and forth. It's nice to have a spreadsheet like that. So at a glance, you can look at the quotes that you're getting, okay? All right, so once you've customized the template, you're gonna go over to the contact supplier page where we're on before, copy the entire template, obviously customized with your information, paste it over here, okay? And then make sure you have this correct. Let's say you want to do 500 units, okay? And then click here, send inquiry. I'm not going to send it because this is just this example. And then just keep doing this for all the suppliers that you find that match the product that you're trying to do. All right, it's really that simple. And then just wait for them to respond. Pro tip. Personally, I stay away from any products that go on or in your body, such as creams, lotions, food, and supplements. I just don't want the liability. However, if you're okay with it, and if you can, I highly suggest sourcing these products locally in your own home country, because the laws and requirements to ensure that these types of products are safe to sell differ from country to country. Pro tip number 2, you can cut your unit cost down dramatically by ordering more quantity. We all know that. However, the problem is if you were to send in a huge supply to Amazon, you can incur huge storage fees. So one tactic you can employ is to negotiate with your supplier that you will commit to a large quantity order, but instead of manufacturing the entire quantity at once, have them manufacture X amount every month or whenever you need. Or see if they can store the supply at their facility and ship out a smaller quantity as you need. Most are willing to accommodate you in one way or another. Pro tip number 3. And lastly, there are a lot more ways that you can save costs than you think. Other than just the cost per unit, I have a video here that goes over all the things that you can negotiate with your supplier. Check it out. Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't already, subscribe and click that notification bell so you can catch new videos when they're released. And if you're looking for more tips and strategy videos, click or tap over here. There's also a link in the description to our community forums, which you should totally join. And as always, thanks for watching.